All right, let's get started. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our weekly call for community solutions hosted by the Forbes Funds and the Greater Pittsburgh Nonprofit Partnership. I am guest hosting this morning as Emily is at one of our AI cohorts at CMU, but she will be back next week. Today we'll be joined by Stephanie Ciranni, Executive Director of Cancer Bridges. You can go to the next slide, please, Bree. And we've been hosting these calls since March of 2020 to share resources and opportunities, provide space for community members to convene, to just discuss challenges and opportunities, and to better understand the short and long-term community needs during COVID and post-COVID. To date, we've hosted 5,158 meetings with 44,078 participants. We'll kick off with conversation from our speaker, then we'll end in policy discussion. I see that Fred has joined us. Fred, did you want to offer any remarks before we get started?
Thank you for joining us, Stephanie. I think the critical thing that's important is I just left a meeting with some city officials who have had a number of incidents with fire departments regarding the built environment and the toxic exposure and new homes that are killing people before they even get rescued. And so this notion of what role cancer plays in toxic causing agents is critical for us to take under a microscope, considering the built environment is a factor for the health and well-being. And Stephanie, I don't know if you noticed before, I guess the last probably almost 15 years, I was part of the Cancer-Free Economy Network out of Berkeley. And so I'm very interested in your presentation, and thank you for bringing this matter to our forum, and I hope that we look at preventive measures versus just treatment measures.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And I'll give Stephanie time to jump in, but I'll do a brief introduction. Stephanie is the Executive Director of Cancer Bridges and a leadership team member of Cancer and the Environmental. Oh, Bree, can you go back one slide? Thanks. The Cancer and the Environment Network of Southwest PA. Cancer Bridges headquarters is the inaugural location of Healthy Spaces, a project aimed at embracing the principle that everyone should have the right to live, work, and play in clean, safe, and healthy environments. Cancer Bridges supports those impacted by cancer through a variety of free emotional, social, educational, and health and wellness programming. This includes those with diagnosis that have a loved one with cancer and those who have experienced the loss of a loved one due to cancer. Next slide, please. As always, we operate using three frameworks: the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the social determinants of health, as well as our 8 Rs. Again, Stephanie's fantastic, so we're looking forward to hearing from her. And with that, Stephanie, I believe I can turn it over to you.
Great, thank you so much. Share my screen with you. Okay, good morning. Thank you so much. I am so glad to be here with you today. As was mentioned, I am the Executive Director of Cancer Bridges, and I also sit on the Leadership Council of Cancer and the Environment Network of Southwestern PA, as well as lead the collective action work group within the Cancer and the Environment Network. So today I'm going to briefly give you an overview first of Cancer Bridges and the work that we are doing to support the psychosocial needs of individuals impacted by cancer in our region, as well as a history of our organization's involvement with Cancer and the Environment Network and how you can get involved to ensure that we're creating neighborhoods and environments that promote health and safety. So Cancer Bridges addresses the emotional, social, and physical, psychosocial effects of cancer through a comprehensive calendar of services and programs, and we provide at no cost the informational tools individuals and families need to navigate their unique cancer journey. So as a result, our members report strengthening their overall mental health and well-being, increasing their coping skills, and increasing their social interactions. According to the Pennsylvania Department of Health, 1 in 2 Allegheny County residents will receive a cancer diagnosis in their lifetime. And so with so many loved ones in our community impacted by cancer, it's critical that programs and services are provided to those facing a cancer diagnosis as a complement to medical care. We are very, very lucky that in Western Pennsylvania, residents have access to some of the nation's top healthcare. And at Cancer Bridges, they also have access to free cancer support services and programs that complement that work. We are headquartered in the Strip District. Many of you, actually, we need an updated photo. Our two big bright front doors are actually more of a blue now than a teal. But if you've ever driven down Smallman Street in the Strip District, you have likely seen our location. We have a 15,000 square foot facility that features a health and wellness studio, an Austin's Playroom, a kitchen, a Matt's Makerspace, and multiple support group rooms. We also have a library and individual counseling spaces. We provide our services also online through a comprehensive virtual and hybrid support calendar and also out in the community. So we are in the regional hospitals, in the medical centers, and also in the community providing our programs and services. Our members, as I mentioned before, actually there are a range of ages. So right now our youngest member is 3 and our oldest member is 96. And these individuals are impacted by cancer in a variety of ways, whether they have the diagnosis, they're in survivorship, or they have a loved one that has been impacted by cancer. They might be a caretaker, or they've lost someone to cancer. All individuals impacted by cancer are welcome to join Cancer Bridges as a member and receive free programs and services that meet their needs. Currently, we're offering approximately 180 programs and services each month. So this range of services includes short-term supportive counseling, which is individual counseling provided by mental health professionals, as well as weekly and monthly support groups that are offered by professionals that focus on emotional support and educational topics. Our education includes experts brought in for all members and within specific support groups to discuss important subjects related to cancer and the environment, obviously, clinical trials, side effects of treatment, exercise and nutrition, mental health, and a lot more. We have a community connections program that allows our members to have access to information and collaborations that we have with local organizations. So we have a wills, power of attorney, and advanced directives program with Reed Smith, as well as financial literacy programming, beauty treatments, and more. And then our creative expression workshops. So these are classes such as painting, creative writing, and drawing, which allow members to learn a new skill, reduce stress, and connect with others in a relaxed setting. Our social activities are gatherings that are scheduled all year long and provide a great atmosphere to celebrate every day while building a community of support. And these have included things like celebrating survivorship, Remembrance Night, a Thanksgiving dinner, a holiday extravaganza, and our Grief Reimagined Connect program. And then, of course, health and wellness. So we have a variety of wellness activities at Cancer Bridges that includes yoga, Reiki, oncology massage, and meditation. And they all focus on improving the well-being of the mind, body, and spirit. We also facilitate multiple evidence-based and cancer-specific programs that are designed to meet the unique needs of our adult members, including Living Life Post-Cancer Treatment, our Moving Through Grief series, Happy Feet program, and the Let's Get Moving Wellness program. At Cancer Bridges, we know that when cancer happens, the whole family is impacted no matter who is diagnosed. So we do offer a very comprehensive family and youth program that really mirrors that adult program. And it allows families impacted by cancer to meet either individually or as a group to discuss topics like educating children and teens about cancer, treatment, side effects, preparing children for medical encounters or hospital visits, anticipatory grief support for children who are facing an impending death or someone close to them may be facing an impending death, and then facilitating positive coping skills using art, play, and other modalities. So really, to recap, we do a lot. We have a very dedicated staff of 11. We're extended by a wide range of amazing volunteers and facilitators who help us execute programming to address the emotional, social, and health and wellness needs of the cancer community. Last year, we welcomed over 870 new members seeking our services and offered over 2,200 programs and services at no charge to the community. And so you might be wondering how this work intersects with the neighborhood and built environment initiatives. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, I am on the Leadership Council of Cancer and the Environment Network of Southwestern Pennsylvania, and I lead the Collective Action Subcommittee of the network. The Cancer and the Environment Network of Southwestern Pennsylvania really grew out of a day-long symposium in 2019 hosted at Phipps. And prior to the symposium, most of Cancer Bridges resources were spent on the programs and services that I just described a few minutes ago. And we really spent very little time and resources thinking about addressing prevention of cancer. At the symposium, all of the attendees really heard about how cancer develops and the strong base of evidence that carcinogens in the environment contribute to cancer, and about people's lived experiences with both environmental health and pollutants and cancer and rising cancer rates in our region. So at the conclusion of the symposium, many of those in attendance wanted to continue to work together on an ongoing basis, and that led to the Cancer and the Environment Network of Southwestern Pennsylvania, of which our organization, Cancer Bridges, has been involved with now since day one, heavily involved with, I would say. We've all likely heard the good news that overall, cancer rates are plateauing, and even in some cases, they are declining. A lot of that is attributed to the success in reducing smoking rates. And because of that, it really shows that prevention works in reducing the cancer incidence rates, especially in our region. However, we're really not making progress in any other category except for cancers that are related directly to smoking. And in fact, for many cancers, rates are going up. Some examples of the rising cancer diagnoses that are rising are non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, as well as kidney, thyroid, and testicular cancer. And all of these cancers are strongly associated with environmental exposures. So some of those exposures are known to contribute to such cancer include dioxins, pesticides, arsenic, and chemicals that are used in solvents that create are included in degreasers, paint, adhesives, spot removers, and much more. So now 5 years have passed since the symposium in 2019 at Phipps, and we have a very busy network of diverse organizations that have come together to address two crises that are likely related: high rates of cancer and high exposures to environmental chemicals and pollutants that contribute to the kinds of cancers that are elevated here in our region. Currently, the network is made up of over 60 organizations with representatives from many wonderful organizations across many sectors and many different issue areas as well. As you can see here, the vision of Cancer Environment Network of Southwestern Pennsylvania is a future where people in Southwestern PA are not exposed to toxic chemicals that contribute to cancer. And in the next 5 years, our network will take bold collective action to dramatically and equitably reduce environmental threats that contribute to cancer and advance safe and healthy alternatives for all. The network has 4 priority areas that we would like to see in our region. What you see here, these 4 categories, is not how it exists today. It's what we're hoping to see and what we are doing together and working together to better align our healthcare, our academic institutions, and cancer-focused organizations in the region with these additional means of cancer prevention. So this means resisting powerful polluters and politics that try to influence how we do our jobs. It means moving some of our resources and some of our funds from support to prevention. And we will also build a new culture, one that recognizes that disparities in environmental exposures and in cancer rates are rooted in racism and classism, and equity must be at the center of our work as we organize across geography, race, income, and issue areas to build our collective power. We do want our legislation and regulations to stay true to our PA constitutional right to clean air, pure water, and the preservation of the environment. And we want more people to know that a healthy environment and a healthy economy go hand in hand. They are not mutually exclusive. Cancer is not as inevitable as the dominant narrative of today assumes. It is preventable, and we have a lot more information on hand to help guide us in that direction than many people would like to admit. Excuse me. We have 4 teams within the network. We meet monthly and tri-annually to come together with other network participants to share progress, expand learning, and collaborate on activities. These teams are collective action, government action, science, and healing and justice. So again, prior to Cancer Bridges' involvement with Cancer and the Environment Network of Southwestern PA, we were really not well versed at all on environmental chemicals. We also were not providing our members with information or potential solutions relating to them. But through our involvement in the network, we learned that reducing toxic chemicals is an important opportunity for cancer prevention. And yet, despite the availability of safer alternatives to many of these chemicals, it is often overlooked in cancer prevention research as well as programming and planning. So Cancer Bridges, like so many other cancer-focused organizations, and as Fred referenced earlier, we have always focused on treating and supporting people once they've already been diagnosed. And so collectively, we are part of the cycle of producing toxic chemicals, people getting sick, and then spending incredible resources on treatment. So the more we thought about this in our work at Cancer Bridges and the people that we were serving in our organization, we realized that we don't want to be a part of that cycle, and we want to be part of the preventative measures that can be taken to disrupt the cycle. So from this knowledge, one project of Cancer and the Environment Network of Southwestern PA is the Healthy Spaces Project. So using our headquarters in the Strip District as a pilot location, we initiated a transition from the use of toxic chemicals in our facility to safer alternatives that we know will produce a reduction in cancer rates in this region, and therefore not exposing our members coming into the building being looking for our support for the psychosocial needs of their cancer journey, for them to not be exposed to the chemicals that are unnecessary. So right here, you can see an example of the manual that was put together. So the initial project began with an audit of the products that we use within the facility. So in particular, the cleaning products that we use throughout the facility. Again, we have a kitchen and obviously bathrooms, support group rooms, individual counseling rooms, all of those rooms cleaned regularly. What products are we using within these spaces that would not be approved by the greater network in terms of having the most sustainable ingredients within and ensuring that they're not toxic to the people that we're serving. So we audited our products, and we realized that much of what we were using could be replaced by safer alternatives. And we brought together many network participants to collaborate and create a detailed manual that we've made available both in English and in Spanish, with buy-in guides for cleaning supplies and best practices when you're cleaning. Again, snippets of the manual can be seen here, but it includes a list of specific products that are approved for purchase and guidelines if those products are not available, what to be looking for to ensure that what you are purchasing is in compliance for best safety practices. And, this is something that we would have never been able to do with our own resources at Cancer Bridges and our own internal staff. We really relied on the network and this group of individuals. I believe it was about a half a dozen organizations that got involved in creating this manual, as well as tons of subject matter experts that knew all of this information and could put together a manual that an organization like ours that previously had not been involved in as much of the environmental factors and the prevention factors that we're now implementing, we didn't have that knowledge prior to. And following the transition from all of these products in our facility, we implemented placards throughout the building so that those who were there in our space, in the lobby, in the bathrooms, in the kitchen, they could have the opportunity to understand what we were doing in our facility to reduce exposure, and also ways that they could do the same or something similar at home following the same guidelines. So each placard gives a small amount of detail in the space. It links to a more detailed fact sheet through a QR code. And it includes, for example, why you will not find fragranced hand soaps in the bathroom, safer cleaning practices in the kitchen, safer products to use, all which can be considered within the home environment as well. And the project and the manual itself was built with implementation by other organizations in mind. And since we have had other organizations join us in this initiative and create a healthy space within their own organizations as well. So in 2024, it is the goal of the Collective Action Committee to continue implementing the Healthy Spaces Project in organizations outside of Cancer Bridges headquarters. The manual and the fact sheets are provided at no cost to organizations that commit to implementing a Healthy Spaces project in their space. And again, we've had some organizations that have already bought in just a few months into the year, and we continue to work with different organizations in our community that can implement these practices for themselves. And really for Cancer Bridges in particular, because we were the pilot location, this was just a jumping off point for the work that we have done. So of course, toxic transitions, step one, cleaning, supplies, garbage bags, toilet paper, paper products, all of those things that we've transitioned to the recommended products. But then we've been able to take it a step further because we do recognize that, and we wouldn't have either as an organization. We can't throw away everything that we have and start. And, we don't have an unlimited budget for certain things. And so we've really made it a phased project, starting with a transition of cleaning products. And then we were lucky enough to receive a grant 2 years ago for remodeling multiple locations within the building. And so we were bringing in new furniture and painting and new carpeting, and we were able to lean on the network to ensure that all of the new products being brought in for that project followed the Healthy Spaces, best practices to ensure that the fabric being used and the glue being used for the carpet and the paint that we were putting on the walls did not bring unnecessary toxins into a facility where we are treating vulnerable people. And so we want to make sure that we, continue to follow network best practices and again, lean on them. Cancer Bridges is not going to be the expert, but the network as a whole and through all the learnings that we've had, we're able to continue to expand this work within this physical location to reduce toxins. We know that physical spaces where people gather, particularly vulnerable people, should be free to the extent possible of chemical exposures that put occupants at risk for health problems, and that includes cancer. Implementing the safer cleaning and disinfecting policy with attention to costs is an opportunity to provide education and inspiration to promote a healthy community. So this is one small but very impactful way in which we and other organizations in our region are aligning our work with the Neighborhood in the Built Environment Initiative through our work with Cancer in the Environment Network of Southwestern PA. So really today, I just ask that you take some time to familiarize yourself, of course, with Cancer Bridges, but with the network's work. And if your vision for your organization is to have a future where people in Southwestern PA are not exposed to toxic chemicals that contribute to cancer, you can scan the QR code at the top to learn more about Cancer in the Environment Network of Southwestern PA. If you're interested in creating a healthy space, there's information there as to how you can do that. And please connect with us and sign the declaration, become a part of our network. We are doing amazing work in this region. We'd love to have you. And I also want to take the opportunity to tell you about our upcoming Environmental Justice Summit. That's the QR code in the bottom half of the page here. This summit will address environmental health disparities, including cancer, due to environmental justices, and will be held May 9th through the 11th. It's a multi-day event located in multiple locations in Pittsburgh. And then, of course, I'm here on behalf of the Collective Action Committee. Our group is responsible for spreading the word, not just about the Healthy Spaces Project, but we provide education. We have a monthly webinar and speaker series that is, open to be joined by the public if you're looking to learn more about toxins in the environment. We've covered a wide range of topics, including turf, environmental risk factors associated with PFAS, what Fred had spoken to earlier, some of the work that's being done when it comes to firefighters and exposures, and really just it's all palatable information for the public to understand some of the risk factors that can be mitigated through small changes, like the Healthy Spaces Project at Cancer Bridges. Of course, if you are interested in implementing the Healthy Spaces Project at your location and you want to see it in action, you're welcome to come to Cancer Bridges, check out the transition of the multiple spaces and see the placards, and be happy to talk to you about how simple it is to make these changes and frankly, how inexpensive it was to make the transition. Whether you're a nonprofit or not, you always want to do everything with cost in mind. And it's been one of the simplest things that we've implemented at Cancer Bridges, but will have major impact. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. I wanted to open it up and see if we have any questions from anyone on the call.
I had two questions.
Yeah,
One is, I want to make sure I get this right. You saying one out of the two people in Allegheny County will have a cancer diagnosis?
that's right.
50%.
Yep.
And so it's a three-part question. Do we know the causal relationship with that? The second one is, given the focus on cancers rooted in racism and classism, are you concerned at all about the Supreme Court decision and how your work might be impacted?
The first part of your question I can answer and say that smoking and age have a lot to do with the high cancer incidence rates here in our county. That information, and I can go back to my notes, I believe was pulled in 2018. And so it really is, it varies from year to year as to what the cause is, but we do know that in this region, and again, from the 2019 symposium, learning about environmental risk factors here in ways that we can talk through and make changes in our organizations. And that's really how we got involved. Speaks a lot to that work. So, you know, our science committee, subcommittee as part of Cancer and the Environment Network is really exploring a lot of that. And a lot of the education is rooted in that. And then the second part of your question is our healing and justice teamwork. And so the bandwidth of the collective action committee is a little bit extended right now. And so I was not able to join our network council meeting. I was out of town last month for that, but they are working diligently on the second part of your question and sharing that information with the network. And I know a lot of that information will likely be shared at the summit May 9th through the 11th. So I would certainly encourage participation in that to learn more about really the network stance on government action. Thanks, Fred.
Thanks. Are there any other questions from anyone? Stephanie, I'll ask a question. So you mentioned implementing, you know, these healthy spaces in work or organizations. Do you have any guidance for places like schools or churches as well that folks can adopt or pull as like a policy recommendation? Or I know you mentioned policy before, but I'd love to think how we could share it to those spaces where, you know, we're maybe not in every day or even just in our homes.
Exactly. So the Healthy Spaces project was built and the manual itself was built to be implemented anywhere within any organization. So yes, Cancer Bridges, of course, is in particular working with vulnerable people or families of individuals who may be experiencing cancer. But every organization and every home can implement safer practices, and that information is within that manual. So again, moving from fragranced hand soap to non-fragranced hand soap. There's not a lot of regulation on fragrance, so it's a general term used. Things like that could be very simple and very easy to implement in a school or in a church or within other organizations. And that's really why collective action, when we reframed our work in the fall and came up with these 4 new work groups, you know, starting in 2024, we really wanted to move back in promoting the Healthy Spaces project just to show how small incremental changes can be made to reduce those toxins. So yeah, yes, short answer is yes, everything within that manual can be implemented in really any facility. It does not have to be a cancer-related organization.
Great, thank you. Any other questions for anyone? From anyone, excuse me? Great. Well, if not, Stephanie, thank you so much for spending time with us this morning. I know you had your contact information in the slides, but if you wouldn't mind dropping it in the chat, that would be great. And again, thank you all for the work that you're doing.
Yes, thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. And we'll make you come back too. So thank you. If we can go back to the slides, I think we might be able to end a little early. I'll go into some public policy updates from GPNP and then some updates from across the Forbes Funds. Great, thanks, Anna. Great, so we have the GPNP Public Policy Committee recap. And just as a reminder, these are held monthly, every 3rd Thursday of the month. And it's a great way to connect with peers from organizations that are doing policy work or doing work that in their communities that may be relevant to what's happening in your organization. Again, we understand that folks get busy and you can't always make the calls. So we do provide a recording on our YouTube channel, so youtube.com/Forbes Fund. The next meeting will be May 16th, and you can register for the meeting, and we'll drop that link in the Across the Public Policy Committee, we have 6 working groups, and groups that are represented by the organizations participating. These are from, I believe Emily did a survey of members to really think about what are some of the primary issues that folks are interested in and want to be engaged around. We have broadband, education, environment, housing, mental health, and workforce development. Again, we will have the slides available for folks, but I do recommend attending those meetings. They're a great source of information. And if you cannot attend, watching the recordings as well to hear about action and collective action from members. Next slide, please. Reminder, April 23rd is primary election, so that is tomorrow. Polls are open tomorrow from 7 to 8 p.m. If you're interested in resources about any initiatives or any of the candidates running, I invite you to check out things from League of Women Voters, PUMP, Jefferson Regional Foundation, and vote.pa.gov. And then we'll share a couple of updates from around our ecosystem here at the Forbes Fund. We are hosting our transformative leadership and golf cohort. The cohort kickoff is on May 1st. The program utilizes the core principles of golf to increase leaders' capacity to manage complex challenges and lead with justice and equity. Fred, did you want to say anything about the past cohorts and anything that folks have said about their experience?
Thank you. Yes, this will be our 4th cohort. We've trained 45 emerging leaders in this work. We found it to be very compelling. It's a lot of people who've taken the class said it's a very prominent teaching methodology, given that the theory of change around golf shot and the rapid prototyping required to hit a shot equate to leadership constructs and making decisions. And so we've been very proud of the work that's been able to be accomplished in partnership with First Tee, because it also creates a secondary framework. In particular, over the past several years, there's been a preponderance of organizations doing fundraisers using golf as a construct, in particular with a lot of senators and congressmen doing fundraising events like that. These are spaces and places where you can make different connections to people, and being able to play golf is one of the frameworks that allows that to happen. Lastly, the golf framework has also created more organic relationship developments for emerging leaders that allow them to strategically collaborate more naturally, which creates a deeper relationship. And in many ways, this is aligned with our work with Nora Bateson out of Sweden with Warm Data Labs, which basically focuses on people feel stronger and better about relationships that allow them to build deeper relationships with other people. And so we're proud of the work. The May 1st is the next launch of the 4th class. I would strongly recommend it for emerging leaders and leaders who are looking at building new coalitions and partnerships. These are people who think outside the box and take into account Pittsburgh and its region, as well as emerging opportunities. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Fred. And again, I want to continue to plug this. Never miss a community call. We recognize that sometimes 10 a.m. on a Monday is hard to join, but we do make these available for free on our YouTube channel, and that's youtube.com/the-Forbes Fund. And again, we will be ending a bit early, and we'll be launching a poll soon, but I do want to thank you all for joining us, and thank you to our speakers, Stephanie and Cancer Bridges, and the work in the Cancer Environment Network of Southwest PA, and the work that you all are leading there. I think the statistic that Fred highlighted again, Stephanie, that you said that 50% of Allegheny County will or is likely to get cancer. I think that's a terrifying statistic, and being able to work across our organizations, within our periphery organizations that we're members of, and even in our homes to reduce exposure is critical. So thank you. Upcoming calls during April, we will, I think, wrap up with Venture Outdoors in the Southwest PA Regional Hub. So again, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Please take the poll before you leave, and we look forward to seeing you on future calls. Have a good morning and good week as well. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you. Thanks.